Hello, my name is Cody Hosterman, and I'm the Technical Director at Pure Storage for VMware Solutions. What I'm going to be demonstrating today is our vRealize Orchestrator vVol workflow package. This is a collection of workflows that we have built that uses our FlashArray plugin for vRealize Orchestrator. Let's demonstrate how it works. So the first step with vVols is setting it up. Right? And there's a variety of workflows inside of this workflow package that you'll see in the vVol folder that appears when you import it. So in my VMware environment, I don't have vVols configured. I have a bunch of virtual machines, and these are currently sitting on a VMFS. So all 8 of these Windows 2016 VMs are sitting on this VMFS data store. And so I want to move these to vVols. But there's a couple steps we need to go to get to there first. So of course you can do this all in the vSphere GUI here, but the vRealize Orchestrator workflow package helps automate this. So first we need to mount our vVol data store, but actually before that, we also need to register our VOS providers from the FlashArray. The FlashArray VOS providers are built into the FlashArray controllers, so there's no setup or configuration you need to do, but you do need to register it with vCenter. Furthermore, protocol endpoints need to be connected to your particular host. That allows you to actually access and create these vVols on that host. So you can see all we have connected right now is our regular volume for that VMFS. So the first step is let's run our register FlashArray VOS providers workflow. First, you choose a vCenter. Then you'll choose a FlashArray. You want to register your FlashArrays in vRealize Orchestrator if you haven't already. Then we need to give credentials. These are the credentials that vSphere will use to talk to our VOS provider. Now this will go and take the VOS provider running on each controller for that particular FlashArray and register them in vCenter. The process is quick, already done. So let's jump over to vCenter and take a look. So I refresh my screen and go to look at storage arrays, so they're grouped. We'll see at the bottom here, both of my providers for that particular M20 are registered and ready to go. So the next step is I need to register my vVol data store. A vVol data store is essentially a quota of capacity. It's not a volume, it's not a file system. It's a quota that represents an array. So I need to choose my cluster where I want to mount that vVol data store, and then of course I'll choose my FlashArray as well. It'll automatically show the storage containers I have available. I'll choose one, and then I can also optionally give it a name. If you don't enter a name, I'll auto-create one for you. M20-vVol, and I'll hit submit. So what this workflow is going to do is going to look on the hosts in that cluster to see if they already have a protocol endpoint presented from that array. These hosts do not. As you can see, it did not find a protocol endpoint from that particular array. It found one from a different array, but not this one. And so it's going to connect that protocol endpoint and rescan ESX. This is the only regular volume that you need to provision. A protocol endpoint is what allows an ESXi server to be able to use a vVol data store. It's the physical path, essentially. When vVols are in use, they get bound through that protocol endpoint. And so if we take a look at my hosts, we'll see that my pure protocol endpoint is indeed provisioned to that host. Only one protocol endpoint is really needed on a FlashArray. That protocol endpoint can be used for all hosts. So they've been rescanned and provisioned, and my vVol data store has been mounted on both of my hosts in the cluster. If we go to vCenter, we can take a look. Indeed, here's my vVol data store, and it's currently 8 petabytes in size. A vVol data store can be very large. It's not a file system or a physical volume or anything like that. It can actually go up to, I believe, 16 zettabytes is the technical limit. So the next step is I want to move my virtual machines from VMFS to vVols. How is that done? Well, storage vMotion. So the first thing I want to do here is I want to choose my source data store. This workflow is called data store evacuation. It'll then show me all my FlashArray vVol data stores in my environment. And what this workflow does is it storage vMotions all of the VMs on that data store from that VMFS to vVols. And you can see the storage vMotion process kicked off. This particular workflow does them in serial. They're not parallelized, but of course you can change that or whatever if you want to make it more aggressive. So we'll skip through it, and now we have one VM left, and it's finishing that last storage vMotion from that VMFS to vVols. This process will use Xcopy to offload the process to the array, speeding it up. So this last storage vmotion is almost complete. Now that the storage vmotion is complete, the next thing that the workflow will do, now that the data store has been empty, is it'll look to see, is it indeed empty or all the VMs gone? If so, it will then actually go ahead and delete that data store. And by delete, it will unmount it from the ESXi servers, detach it from the SCSI devices, and then on the flash array, it will destroy it. So you can see it's unmounting it, it's detaching it, unmounting it, and detaching it, all the various hosts in this particular cluster. Once this process is complete, the cluster will be rescanned, and this will clear out the reference to that particular data store after it's been unmounted and detached. You can see it's now gone, and the workflow is complete. If we take a look at my flash array, or rather my vVol data store, we'll see all my virtual machines have been migrated. We'll see that's my volume groups, aka my vVol VMs are there, and my destroyed volume is there. My flash array VMFS is now destroyed and gone. It'll sit there for 24 hours in case you need to return it. Now that all my VMs are all vVol VMs, the next thing we could do is assign a storage policy. If we look at our policies on one of my virtual machines, you can see there's just some default policy, but I want to give it a specific policy. I want to replicate these virtual machines. And so the next step is to create a policy. There's a variety of ways of doing it. The workflow package has one where you can create a custom policy, or you can import one from a protection group. So if we look at my vCenter and go to VM storage policies, we'll see that there's just basically the default one and then another random one right there that I had created earlier. If I look at my array, we have a protection group. A protection group is essentially a local snapshot policy and or a replication policy. This one has a 1-hour snapshot policy, a 1-hour replication policy, and replicates to one target. And so I want to create a VM storage policy from that. So I can start the workflow that imports those configurations and creates a vCenter storage policy. So I'll choose my vCenter, and I can choose both of them if I want. This will create a policy on both vCenters. And then I can choose my protection group. So I'll choose my gold protection group for my M20. And then this workflow will take all the settings, the local snapshot policy, retention, replication, retention, and targets, and create a VMware storage policy. I'll call it 1-hour rep, 1-hour snap. Just give it a random description. And then there's also some other options. I can enforce the name of the protection group in the policy, and I can also enforce which targets it actually replicates to. I'll just choose, I just want to enforce this policy, say, hey, I replicate to that 420 array. So this will import the protection group and create a policy on both selected vCenters. If I go back to VMware and refresh, we'll see that the policies have been created on both vCenters. If we take a look at the one on one of my vCenters here, on vCenter 1, we can look at my rule set and we'll see, yeah, here's the pure storage policy. Should always be on a flash array, replicate to that array, 1-hour replication and retention, 1-hour snapshot. And we can see there is my compatible vVol data store. My M20 vVol data store that I mounted earlier is compatible with that policy, meaning it can offer up those features. So now let's assign that policy to all those VMs. So I'll choose my vCenter, and then I'll choose my virtual machines, and I'll go ahead and choose all of them. I want to choose all 8. I want to assign this policy to all of them. But the cool thing is you can assign it to one of them. You can even assign it to an individual virtual disk on a VM if you want. In this case, I'm going to assign it to the entire VM and all of its virtual disks, all of its vVols, essentially. So I'll choose all 8, and then complete, and accept. And now I'll choose a storage policy. This will show you all the flash array policies that you have to offer. And then the vVol data store will show you any compatible vVol data stores. It will filter out non-compatible data stores. And since I chose a replication policy, I'll choose a consistency group, aka my protection group, that I want to put these VMs in. And so when you assign a policy, it not only assigns it, but it also has the array configure the storage of those VMs to that particular policy. And so if we take a look at our virtual machines as we're assigning these policies, we'll see that it now has our policy that we assigned it. So let's go look at one of my VMs, and we'll look at the storage policies on this first virtual machine. You can see, yep, the VM home and the one virtual disk it has been configured with my policy. And if we go to Edit VM Storage Policies, we can see some more details, that it's assigned to both, and the replication group, since it's a replication type policy, is assigned to all the objects of that VM. If we go to my flash array, and we can see all the vvols are also been added to that protection group, because the policy not only configures it, but adds it and configures it on the array. That's in demonstration, and now we've completely set up virtual volumes. That's it using vRealize Orchestrator. Thanks a lot.